So right now ES pushing nicely higher, finished the day within the range, and you know, we had kind of a upward sloping range yesterday, and now we're pushed through those highs, and we've just been drifting higher. We're at the 50% of the previous session's range. Typically speaking, 50% expansion on a in a trending market is a good area to defend and fade. So that's a good spot. It's 2145s. Makes sense based on PivotBoss pivots here. Let's take a look at the only thing is just how aggressive this aggressively sloped this R3 is. That's something that you have to be very patient on, is just watching that, because that tells you that the trend is still up. Very powerful move. But if this thing starts to kind of level off at some point here, as this thing does this, then it could tell you that it could be a time to head back to value. But the idea here is that after an up move, if it finds rejection near this zone, you fade it back toward value. And right now VPOC, one-day value, is 2041 quarter. And then you have ETH VWAP here, which is 39.75. And so that makes for a nice little zone right here to target right into that area. So I'm not sure we've rejected just yet, but we could be nearing that zone or nearing that time. So this may be the level that it's going to reject off of, but it may spend some time up here first, or it could, you know, do a blow-off reversal. So we don't know how it's going to reject, but it doesn't look like it's rejected just yet. But this is not a bad spot at all. So right now we're still hanging at these highs. I think at some point we may find a rejection point and fade back toward value, but right now I haven't seen signs of rejection just yet. I mean, it's rotated downward here. A rejection right now would be a lower high or a one tick failed new high, and that could start to get you, because remember, look at this right here. This is your 5-day chart right there. Or is that a 1-day? All right, so well, that's what the bulk looks like right now. You can see how nice it looks right here, but all of these prices have been auctioned really well. That's why you get a nice bulky D-shaped profile. But these have not been auctioned very well. The only way to auction back through those levels is to auction back through those levels. So the only way to fill this out and make it more rounded, like its lower counterpart down here, it's a hole right there, but for the most part it's pretty nice, is to re-auction those prices. And you have to go back up and down to do that. So at some point I do think we're going to rotate lower, come back into the LVN, back toward value and the LVN, and then we'll find a support and we'll come right back up like this. We may do it a couple times, but I think that's the primary idea. Yeah, so Scott, yeah, 38, 37 is a good spot just because it's rejection. It's the natural rejection in the chart. It's the LVN. You know, you can see 38 right here just going back. It's a good spot. So whenever price is trending in a direction, bulls use the LVNs to lean on as support. So once it pushes through that level, when it comes back to it, that's where they come in and defend. And then they push through the next one, and maybe this is going to be the next LVN. Who knows? If it's going to continue higher, then maybe this becomes the next LVN and it pushes higher and it comes back and holds it. That's usually how it goes. Now this may not be a full-on trend day where it's going to continue higher, you know, all day long, but at least the first pass into this zone will likely be defended for at least one pass into this zone, typically speaking. And if they fail, if price comes up here, like crude oil yesterday, it was like crude oil yesterday. If it fails, it would do something like where it comes in like this, tries to bounce, can't really go, so it comes back again, and then all of a sudden and then you know, you see the stops come out like that, right? So that's why I usually, when I used to do the old drawings here, something like this, I would say that's your primary and that's your secondary. So the primary idea right now is to defend the LVN at 38s in that zone, 38, 37, and squeeze it into this area with the top being 49. But if this thing fails to hold this zone right here, then you likely see price auction all the way back toward the lows and the thick part of this meaty part of the profile, which is right here. So you got about 29.5 to 28.5 as the zone down below. So that's usually how I see this type of setup playing out. You're welcome. Okay, so we've gotten a pullback here in the ES. Very, very clean. Great job. I mean, that was fantastic there. Identifying that could be a high there, Scott. And, you know, patient about it. We knew it wouldn't just run around and turn around, but it was very patient. You got the lower high, and then we thought it could come back to value and VWAP. At the time, well, value was here 2140, and at the time, VWAP was here. So we were shooting for here, but it got there. But you can see VWAP came up a little bit more and hit it right there. So, I mean, it was a perfect move. 41 in VWAP. That's awesome. Great job. So right there, just a great move, taking it from up here and bringing it down. But just a great move. And now this thing can come a little lower. We'll see how it behaves here at 38s. It could even get as low as down here, the bottom of the PivotBoss bands S3, and still be a great reversal back up. But first things first, I think the LVN at 38 is one to watch. And we'll see how that plays out. I think that could give a good move back up. So right now, this one's moving down into the target, and that's it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that trade is done. And see, that's where, you know, I think where I matured as a trader was the ability to just identify where a zone can see rejection, engage it, and bring it back to the most likely target. And that's it. Be done with it. Right? 45 to 41, that's a fantastic trade right there. High probability trade. But yes, it might continue going downward. But the ability to grab a major rejection point with little heat and bring it back to where people want it at value. I mean, that one little thing right there, if you just do that over and over again, it's fantastic. It beats, because you're going to get more of these trades than you will trades that do that, right? This happens way more often than something that just falls off the cliff. Yes, sometimes you will get those as well, but practice these. I mean, that's fantastic. So far, a nice little pullback into 38s, and 38s, 38.25 was the low, and we've seen a little bit of a bounce here of about 2 handles already, and you can see that LVN coming into play very nicely so far. ES was working its way toward our targets here, which was the 46 to 47 zone, and we got it. We got it. Very nice. We also mentioned that we could see a move as high as 49s. So based off of the daily ADR target. So let's make that daily bull target, and it was the intraday. Let's bring that up. There, the 5-day. All right, so here's our targets. So based on our targets, and these are the ADR targets on a 5-day average. We revised them, if you recall. So here is 50%, 75%. This is 100%. Our idea initially was if they defend 38s, it could get as high as these 49s, which is our primary 75% target on a 5-day average range basis. But for the most part, we're just looking for anything above these highs, because we were trading, you know, within the framework of an up move, you want to see new highs, right? And so new highs would take you a couple of points above it. That's why I was looking at 46, 47. We got to 47.25 right now in this little latest move. The move has been very nice, very slow, It could be painfully slow on a day like today, but it's also, hey, at least it's moving in the direction, and it did so quickly. Remember when we talked about 38s, it was an LVN down here. You want to see rejection right away, and we got it immediately. Then I said, now you want to see a higher low form, and then that pushes to a new high, and then that'll get you started working higher. And that's what it looks like when it happens. So we were visualizing what it could happen, what it could look like when it plays out. This was the visualization. So for those of you that are in Masters, we talk about visualization as part of triggering entries. It's not just, hey, I'm going to get in right here and see what happens, or I'm going to get long here or short here. It's about understanding what's happening, who's positioned where are the stops, what's the primary idea, where's the primary trend, where are the counter trend rotations, all those little factors. But at the very end of it, it's about visualizing what could happen. If you see rejection here off of 38s, right, you could have had a limit order in there, you could have waited for a rejection and gotten in afterwards, however you want to do it. But once you're in, what you're looking for is for the next pullback to be defended and form a higher low, so that it can then test and push through new highs, right? And then now you start an upward trending price structure toward your target. There's the completion of the move. So we had this pretty much nailed nicely. Obviously, this right here was a 45s, a great call out earlier in the room. And then from there, we were able to identify that, hey, this could bring us back to value. If it does, once it gets to value and into the LVN, that's going to be a trigger zone, especially in the LVN, because that's the way markets behave. And from there, we're going to be looking for a move in the 46 to 48. And it worked out great. It's not always that perfect, right? It's not always that great, but that you trade when the market is moving according to your analysis. It's, I would call this typical or normal market behavior. So this is perfect. It's working out exactly as you'd hope. Even the fact that price rallied 50% beyond its previous session's range and hit that level, we knew there was a lot of factors to like about that potentially being the high. That, and then from there, looking at LVNs and knowing that they're going to try and hold here and blah, blah, blah. I mean, all that stuff right there is really, really nice. And it's just very simple, but it works. And when the market rejects like it's supposed to, then you know how to play it. And if the price did not respond to this level and instead had done something different, for example, say it dropped into it and then it tried to go up, then when it pulled back, it was having trouble getting to a new high, then it had to dip down, and then it starts to, and it can't go. All of a sudden, now you know, okay, this is having trouble, and it's likely going to do this, right? So the market tells you a lot of times. It's not always as easy, but sometimes it's easier than others. But it's mostly about just identifying those areas that give you the best edge of rejection and engaging at the best price there, using your trade management and letting it go toward its targets. Because as soon as price bounces off of 38s and it goes up 2 ticks or 2 points in the ES, right? If you can get 8 to 10 ticks, 8 to 12 ticks on the first bounce, you can scale out of this thing and just let it go. Just let it go, right? Because now when you scale out, you're a break-even trade, and now you have no vested interest, you have no crazy emotional baggage going on, or mental capital's not low. Instead, you're just nice and easy, and it makes for a better trade. Less stress in the trade, and that's always good. But it happened really nicely. This played out great. Great job for those of you trading that one. That was awesome.